Hello guys, welcome to our channel. In this video, we will explain the whole movie concept behind the scene and all the conspiracy theories and every aspect of this movie. Now, today the movie name is Until Dawn. So guys, in this movie, the Until Dawn that is 2025, the story dives into the cycle of chlorine, a grieving tender haunted by the mysterious disappearance of her old sister. Melina, who vanished exactly 1 year earlier during the scheduled winter retreat with a snow-covered valley, consumed by the glitter uncovered trauma, and they need closure cover with the close-knit group of friends, Max, Manga, Nina, and the Abla. To return with her to a very place Melina was last seen. What begins at the search of her answer quickly square into their live nightmare with that group. Discover a abandoned visitor center hidden deep into the woods. Seemingly frozen into the water, they are soon scattered and slaughtered by the buried mustard kill. But death is not the end. Instead, the awakeness unharmed back into the van at the start of the evening. This marked to the beginning of the horrifying class. Each night end is terrified, bloodshed, and the confusion only for this group to start over again. Trapped is a supernatural time loop that reshape it with very every irritation. So guys, now we move to the next topic and the next part. So that in this topic, in this part, what makes to the loop even more horrifying is that every reset and the reality around the detrier something manifesting as sheltered style murdered, something as bone chilling, supernatural hunting, psychological tour, and the gospier body horror. Each loop feels even a new horror movie, blurring the new lines between the fair and the distorted presentations. As the nights attract on, cover being to the unreal secret hidden behind the surface of this valley. Innocent in dangerous, crucial, and unethical experience over the conclude by the Nightmare Institute and the Melina over the descent into the darkness. These are not just a more sincere design connected to the covered family and the emotional wonder she dared to suppress. Haunted by increasingly disturbing vision of the Melina and the guided by the cryptic message left by the Dr. Elena Hill, a shadowy figure who seems to the exact both inside and outside the loop. Clovera behind the suspected that the valley is a photographed space, one that feed on the trauma and the guilt. The time loop become a methodological for the Clara inside the battle. Every failure who lose friend, everyone choose forces her to confirm his deep sets, regards and the fear. The question shifts from how do we speak and what truth are not ready to their face. In the end, only by accepting the darkest part of this herself, reconciling with this memory of her sister and making the heartbreaking final decision can Clara hope to the end and crucial survival until dawn. The film waves together themes of loss, accountability, fear, and emotions, healing with the framework of the consistently shifting, horrifying, terrifying, and naturally disturbing psychological experience that the lighter long after the final loop ends. Let me tell you a story, terrifying one. It's about a one girl whose name Clara. It being a cold silent. Night in a mountain. Snow blanks to the earth like a secret, muffing every sound, hidden every danger. The wooden holds like a voice warning to something old and the forgotten. Deep is only wilderness lie to the abundant visitor center. Its wood routine, its window cracked, its silence absolutely. A year ago, something terrified happens there. Melina covered older sister vanished during a winter trip with his friend. No body, no race, just screaming in the night and a trial that ends in the fresh snow. Clover needed to recover. She stopped sleeping, stopped laughing. Her life collapsed in the quiet obsession with the past. No 1 year later, Clover returned, but this is not just a visit, it's a revoking. With her come with four friends. Max, kind-hearted and loyal. Major, logical and sharp. Nina, defiant and the passionate. And Abel, strong but hunted. They wanted to help. They wanted to believe it's just a trap, a way to help Clara heal. But Clara know the truth. The mountain has secrets and it's calling her back. As their van climbs higher, the world begins to the unreal. The GPS died first. Then the road vanished under the white sheet of the untouched snow. They stopped, lost, and the silence covered in the distant green of the trees shifting under the weight they cannot see. Now, guys, they visit to the center of as night as the most central part of the building, looking like a collapse on this hillside. Pine needles and the broken glass crunched undefeated. The air inside the colder than outside it seems of the mold, rusting, iron and the something else, sweet and the sour like decaying meat as they explore shadows stretched is impossible way. An old TV turns on this itself static screaming into the darkness. Footstep echo above them, even through one of them, then the light goes out. So guys, actually in this no the next part of this movie, there is whole dangerous scene is occur and it is like a suspense type. And if you want to say anything, just comment right down below. And now we move to the next part. Screaming splits the silence. A masked figure emerged from the darkness, tall, twitching, dripped with the something that is not snow. One by one, they are hunted. Nina disappears first. Megan is degraded into the woods. Abel tries to fight, and the vanished is brushed off red. Max and Clara run, slipped into the snow, breathing coals of the panic. Then the Max is gone. Clara hides into the shadows, hand over his mouth, watching through shades as bolts crushed closer. And just when the blade touches her thought, she blinks. She back in the vein, everything reset. The radio plays the same song, Max make the same joke. The mountain look like the same, but the Clara is not the same. She screaming, she sobs, her friend are confused. They think she is sheep, dripped, grieving, but the nightmare repeats. A new path, a new order of depth. Each loop ends with the clover survival alone of walking and the van again. The valley is crashed, time is furnished, they are trapped. So guys, actually this whole process is totally a trap for these all friends and these all guys. And if you want to help these guys and if you want how they are survive, how they can live from this whole dangerous scene, just watching it. With every loop, their horror depends. Something that killer is masked, something is not persons. Its shadows with the claws, its wings that move like a snake's, its snow like that burn to acids, cabins appear and varnished. Then they find others victims, mummified teens frozen into the tears. One night, Mangans find a VHS tape, Snow and other group 10 years earlier, meeting the same fate. Cover scenes Melina always at the end of the vision. Sometimes she weeps, sometimes she twists, bleeding, angry. She weeps, think cannot, Clara cannot forget. You left me, you let me die. Clara begins the question reality? Are they friend or real? Are they shadows? Is he? Paranoia eats them alive. Nina turns into the Clara, Abe refuses to speak. Megan's draw maps of the loops, pageants of the overlapping time like spider webs. Max tries to help but starts hearing voice. One night he does not recognize Clara, another her call her Mela. Then the journal found is the sealed room behind the center. It's Melina page of the drawing. Distortified face, cryptic symbols, note on the authentic Rutius. She wrote a place of narrative terrifying Fedrips, the hollow ships, a flood is time. A wound is grifted, a place she sorrows, live forever. Clara realizes the loops are not random, they are terrified, traced. Each depth peels but another layers. Until one night, Clara finds Mac's bodies and the kills turns into her. Her face, her eyes, but all hollows, empty. She runs into the door that look back on themselves, through forests that are going into the circle, through her own memories. In the final loop, she awakens is silence. Her friends are gone. The world is grey, no music, no laughter, just snow and stillness. Dr. Hills sits by the fire inside the visit center. Her voice is calm, almost kind. He tells her to the truth. The loop is her person bound by from guilt. Melina is not trapped her, Clara is until she faced her guilt, until she stopped running. She will reveal the horror forever. So Clara goes to the piece. It's all began where Melina screamed. Necklace. She find a necklace. Melina she hanging from the frozen branch. She hold it, crying, whispering, apologize. I could not save you. I was scared. I left you. The wind rise. The killer stepped from the tree mask, blend in hand. Cover his eyes. She does not run. She says, Melina names the step forward light. She wakes in her bed, morning light filtered through a window. The radio plays softly. Her phone buzzes. A text from the Max. You okay? We not still on this trip. So guys, this is a whole process that occur at that time in this movie where that Max is messy to the and say that are you okay? He actually write a question for them and we are not on on the trip still here. Clara stares as it then deletes. Then Clara deletes. She gets up, walks to the window. Snow falls gently outside, but the peaceful no real. Cut to the block, the visitor center, quiet, still standing, a flatted, a shadow is a window. Then the whisper, Melina voice, until dawn, confirming casting and character returning, deep explanation. So guys, this is the next part start in this whole movie's explanation. In this part, we will explain the whole cast, character, and returning, and all deep explanation of these movies. So, guys, now we start it. Let's take a deep dive into the mysterious and the chilling return of the ionic character in Until Dawn. A film that is not just a remark but the haunting reimaginations of this original story. Remy Make as a Joseph Josh Washington. He returned his time, his presence, his darkness, more symbolic. Josh is not just a traumatized but both everything. He is that echo of every time that was not wrong than the crushed mountain. He made him in fragment memories has light. Sometimes even its Clara loops. His face flickered between the sanity and the insanity. Sometimes he helping her, other times he leading her into traps. The script hint that the Joseph may have never escaped from the mountain. He is a part of its soul now, merged with the grief, the regard, the twisted reality of these hollow ships. His dialogue and the script layered with emotional pain and the psychological undertold. He speaks of the time folding of punishment and guilt, like someone who has seen the same nightmare over and over. Whenever he has a ghost, he remained or a warning that the Clara, as you decided. Hayden painted it as Sam guiding. Sam returns older, wiser, and deeply scared. She no longer the girl just trying to survive a weekend or terrifying. She's woman who has lived with a memory of what happened. In this one of the loops, Clara meets her and one of the most hidden abdomen caravan watching survival. Same tells cover. We are all being hurt before, but only some of remember. Her role now is that of the silent guardian, helping from the shadows, guiding Colora subtly, and when the moment is right, facing the killer hand on with the same bravery she once showed. Her return is not just a fan survival, it's a powerful rejection of what trauma leaves behind. She is the ambient of survival, not just from the horror but from the guilty. Betra Dalton as a Michael names Mike. So, guys, this is the next whole explanation of this character whose name is Mike. Mike returns with the signature's confidence, but it does not the last. It is a vision his past, Hatrius as wasted down by sometimes he is hiding. Through scattered loops, we learn that the Mike might know about the mountain then let on. He has researching investigation quietly. Clara find a newspaper clipping into the loop article Mike he's gathered about disappearance going back decades. He's not just a survival anymore. He's a man of a mission. But in some loop, he disappeared too soon. In others, he turned on a group, paranoid and unstable. As then they loop where Mike is killed or someone who look exactly like him. It's a passionate guilter and the twisted vision of him from another reality. The movie does not spoon feed it if it's asked from your dick. So guys, the next main character of this movie is Plated Stormier and the Dr. Alan Hills. Dr. Hills return into the phrase the most unsettling. No longer confined the jaws therapy session he appears in the flesh, or so it seems, sitting by fires, wandering the halls, leaving message secreted into the walls. His presence is omniscient, like a narrator who knows everything but says little. He does not offer answer, only riddles. What is a grief if not time confusing to move on? He asks Laura in one of the sequence. He speaks of the hollow ship like he's part of its protector or its presence. His sense are short in this ethical dairy milk style. The line between the therapist ghost and the good start of blur. In this final act, Dr. Hills becomes the key. He tells Clara, you must not run from this night, you must walk through it. Only then we will drawn come. Blom as a Clara knew. Clara is the emotional heart of this movie, a young woman trapped in a grieving spiritual hunted by the sister. Melina disappears. She is not a fighter at first, but she is obedient, sensitive, and the deeply broken. Her journey in the psychological and the physiological as a leaps reset. We watch her grow from something who reached to the horror or something who conflict it and it. She's one who being seen throughout the patterns she started remembering. She created become question, her fear become a strategy, her final voice to embrace the killer instead of running Mark to his rebirth. Clara is not just a survival, she becomes his one who into this crucial. New friends, the loop victims. Each friend is not just a body count, they represent emotions. Clara needs to be confront. So guys, these all are five or four to five friends of this Clara, and all friends have their own emotions, have their own expertise. And guys, tell me which friend do you like most of one? First one is Max, second one is Megan, third one is Nine, and fourth one is Apple. So your Max one is Barton Flying, the boy who always believes in her. He represented trust, but the trust fades when the loops repeat. People change. His fate hits Clara the hardest. Next one is Megan, logical and a brave. She tries to map the loops illiterally, literally drawing the nightmare. Her vision, mid tense, and the late loops is one of the most chilling scenes in this movie. Next one is Nina. Angry, impressive, always challenging Clara in this loop. Where she dies fire. Her last words are, I am not scared of dying. I am scared of forgetting hunting. And the fourth one is Abel. Quiet and sensitive. His silence hides deeper wounds. When he is ripped apart by the invisible hand, Clara feels true happiness and rage. Hidden character and the cinemas. So guys, these are all the appearing character that are present in this movie, and let me know in the comment right down below which one is the favorite one of your. So guys, now we move to the next hidden characters. Afflicted of the bath and the hundred appeared in this distorted video log. A ghost laugh is one who loops speciously like MLA, are captured with a scare similar to Jesse. It seems crawling the ceiling is one of the nightmare loop. What happened is until what happened is until dawn 2025 full explain movie. So guys, this is the whole explanation of this movie. Let me know I will tell you about the story. It is a began with Clara, a quiet drilling girl who has not smiled a year. His sister Melina vanished, trapped into the mountain, no footprint, no Whitson, just gone, and Clara. She has not even eyes, hunted by the dreams, walking by crawling, and seems glimpse of her sister into the shadow and mirror. Not exactly 1 year later, she turns back to the same place, same visitor center in the frozen valley with his four friends Max, the boy who cared much, Nana, who's very sharp, Magna, whose brain is like a camera, and the Abel, who's very sensitive and a really nice boy. They think it's a healing trap, a trouble, a farewell, but the mountain has another plan. The mountains that arrives. The air feels wrong, the GPS died, the snow thickness, and the sky turned a strange shade of the grey. The visitor center stands of a tomb, broken glasses mold on our walls, and a smell is like air. It is not a just old wood, but something metallic, blood-like. They laugh it off. Set up sleeping bags, explore the place, but soon it begins strange noise, flickering light, static whisper from the broken radios. Footsteps is empty rooms, and then someone dies. A masked figure appears from the shadows first. Silent, brutal, able body is found hanging from the rafters. His mouth squint shut, paint sets it. They try to leave, but the road is gone. Literally, road is gone, guys. As the mountain shallows its hole. Clara runs, she hidden, she watch into friend die one by one, screaming in the night, blood or also snow. And just as she about to kill, she blinks and she back in the van. Everything is the same snow, the same road, her friend alive again and laughing driven. But she remember everything. A time loop, a cruel endless nightmare, then reset the mountain she's die. And every loop sometime is different. The loops begin. At first, her friend do not believe her. Then they start drawing in the new way. One time Nana burned alive in a cabin, another Megan is dragged into the forest by something not human. Max slowly loses his gripping, being hearing voice and able. Something has not even made in the past front door. Each loop reveals and something a detail, a clue of Clara find over the video traps of another group strange who were trapped before them. They speaks of the hollow ship, a crushed part of the mountain where time fold on itself and slowed are consumed by resolving grief. She began to see vision of the Mela at the first distance crying they angry, blaming Cholera, you let me die. Is Melin alive? A ghost, a memory? Doctor hails the truth. Eventually, in the loop where Clara is completed alone, she finds a hidden journey buried behind the floor. Melina handwriting its tell a voice in the woods, a whisper well or a routine goes wrong. Then she meets Dr. Well, not in a dream but face to face, sitting by the fire, waiting. Her tells her, "You are not here to survive. You are here to choose." He explained the crucial. This place is drifting, frozen the air. They back the loop. They back the loop. Know that, but the truth, she does not save Melina. Maybe she never expected. So guys, now we move to the half of this movie, and now we will discuss to the next part of this movie, and this is a big difference in the show Until Dawn 2025. Until Dawn has always been known for its chilling, interactive nature in this video in the game of all over the world. But the movie 2025 adaptation takes a darker, more emotional turn. While keeping the core essential, it introduced the several major differences than the fan of this game may both are surprising and fantastic. Let's break it down. The time loop machine, the time loop mechanism, deeper and more psychological. In this game, the story is mainly a survival horror with a player controlling character and making choices that influence the outcome. The game loop concept is not a strong flash out and each that feel like a result of the poor decision made by a player. But in the 2025 the movie the game loop is far more psychological and the hunting. Clara is caught in the endless loop of repetition, each cycle more disturbing than the last. It's not just about the psychological horror but the more about guilt, grief and the self-doubt. Clara does not get the more choose, instead must comfort her past and her unresolved feeling about her sister's disappearance, which adds a whole layer of emotional depth missing from the original. This change turned the horror into the somewhat tragical and more emotional time period which covers with the more darkest fear not just for survival. The killer identity more than the simple villain. Its original game, the killer was a must figured who identify was revealed later. But the mysterious remain focused on the killer motivates and the creepy environment. So guys, in this movie we will explain all of the reviews and the fact and all explanation deep detail of this whole movie concept. Let's guys, if you want to say anything just comment right down below. The killer is presented as a human force, a person driven by the psychological trauma and the revenge. However, in this movie, the killer is much more than just a human. In certain loop, Clara finds that the killer could be the reflection of herself or even manifesting of her guilt. Sometimes the killer is an external force, a part of the ancient shores. At other times, the killer is supernatural and targeting feeding on the group fear and regards. This shift is a killer identity makes the horror more conscious and existential, turning the story a simple thriller, a battle with self-identify and the supernatural force. The visitor center, its role is a plot. In this original game, the visitor center is more of the backdrop, a creepy isolated setting to create the atmosphere. It's a place where things happen but not necessarily the center of the mystery. In this movie, however, the visitor center takes one of the most symbolic role. It's a living, breathing entire of its whole own, wrapping with each loop. So some rooms appear and disappear, its wall seems closed in and place seems alive with a dark energy. The visitor center revealed to have once been the site of the ancient Trolla and it's connected to the crucial of this hollow shape. The transformation of this visitor center into the psychological prison gives a major more hunting thrill edge again the game of psychological horror. The explains of this character more depth in this game while each character has their own set of motivation and background. The plot focus remain the survival and who can make it through the night. The character development mainly survival to drawn the story forget choose their character and dialogue trees. But in this movie the character are given far more depth and emotional complexity. Clara internal journey is breakdown as a loop twisted their personalities and motivations. We see Nina, Elba, Megan and Max surely losing themselves. Not just because of physical treat, but because of emotional toll of the time loop start eating away of them. They are more focused on a human relationship trauma and how grief meant fantasy different in the people. For example, Megan, one of the legal logical thinking, start mapping the loops, obesity, but it's doing so loosely touch with reality. Abela, the quiet ones become almost cantoning as I experience the same depth over and over. This makes the horror less about the whole survival and more about the psychological unrevealing of this character. The nature of the cross from the local myth of this universe concept in this game, the crucial of this mountain and its connection of these native tribes for Ka is hunted, but the story mainly focus on the mysterious disappearance and identify of the killer. It's an era setting, but it does not delve deep into the cosmic implications of the Crucial. In this movie, however, the Crucial is fully explored. It's tied a place called the Hollow Ship, a timeless void where grief, loss, and regard are trapped. Time itself bends her, creating the loop. This shift makes the horror psychological. It's not just about the people being hunted, it's about the mythological consequence and unresolved grief. It asks what's happened when you cannot let go for your pain. This exploration of the grave adds a new level of existential terror that was not fully recognized in this game. The ending, the more final psychological resolution in the original game. The ending varies depending on the choose, but the idea is that a player can escape the course if the manage to survive and reveal the killer identity. There's a sense of finality when a game ends through some elements left upon the interpretation. In this movie, the ending more once open and metaphysical. The final sequence does not just resolve the physical horror; its focus, Clara, confidence, her guilt, and her connection to the past. By facing the killer, she breaks the cycle. However, after the loop ending, they suggest to the nightmare may never truly end as the last shot hunting to the visitor center, still standing, and the Melena voice whisper until dawn. This leaves us wondering through where the crow just truly ends or if the she merely entering a new chapter of healing. So guys, now we are going to move to the next topic that was the no-liner storytelling. But before we going to that, let I want to say one thing that please if you want to say anything guys that just comment right down below, and if you who tell me that you are excited and you go to entertain from this whole movie, please tell me. Please also do like and subscribe our channel, and if you want to say more this type of videos and engagement videos and explain all deep detail movies, let's subscribe our channel. So guys, now we move to the non-linear storytelling, more confusion and layer complexity. The original game tells a more straightforward narrative, albeit with a twist. A player more of the one of the deep to the next with the choice, determination, who survive and who dies. The movie, however, makes the timeline non-linear in the way of enhance the confusion and emotional impact. The time loop themselves seems to the bleed it into each other, making it hard to well what's real or what's not. Some character does not even remember what's happening before the consult resetting of the events. It's harder to the structure and explain this whole concept. And guys, conclusion, while Until Dawn stay true to the easier, unseating nature of the original games, it's the evaluated the experience with the psychological depth with a psychological depth, emotional complexity, and the deeper exploration to the crucial. It's not just a thriller horror, and it's a journey that drift, guilt, and the supernatural. The changing in this movie version might leaves game frame both impression and the little uneasy as it's become less about survival and the more about the confronting the dark corner of the soul. What do you think of these changing? Are they for the battle or do you perfect the original game simpler, more direct narrative? Let me know your thought in the comments below. The bigger difference in the Snow Until Dawn 2025. Until Dawn 2025 is actually the whole explanation, and the movie also explains the more deeper detail analysis of these parts. So guys, there are five more basic points of this whole movie. First one is that the time loop mechanism. Second one is that the killer identification. Third one is that the visitor center. Fourth one is that the expansion of this character, and the five one is the nature of the crucial, and the last is the ending part of this movie. So guys, now we are going to behind the scene of this movie Until Dawn 2025. As with a major movie making to the Until Dawn 2025, it a fantastic and the horror movie itself. While its movie is a psychological tension and the mind-bending time loop, making the gripping narrative. Therefore, the lot that happened behind the camera is bring to all of life. Let's dive into the some of more interesting behind the scene facts that help the shape to terrifying adaptation. The filming location, a blend of real and virtual. The movie took more advantage of this mountainous landscape and the set of era stone. Filming is remote areas in Canada that's perfectly my making that isolate setting of the visitor center. However, to enhance the supernatural element, certain part of this movie were the shot of the virtual environment creating using advanced CGI ads. So actually CGI is basically just for the entertainment and for scene like a more real for 3D views you can use it. The filmmaker built a visitor center in the massive sound cage, but the intact detail of the location, like the shifting walls, mysterious vanishing rooms, and other supernatural phenomena, we are brought to the life through the virtual reality and the motion capture techniques. The movie setting is particularly plays a huge part in the creating the tensions. The filmmaker used a real snowstorm, but the bells and the fog were often intersatisfied using CGI to create the atmosphere of the paranormal and the disassurances. The interactive elements from the game to film since the original Until Dawn was a game was interactive elements. Many fans wondered how to filmmaker would capture the scene of the choice in this movie format. While you cannot control the cloro action, the filmmaker borrowed inspired from this game interactive storytelling to keep the attention of the contact decision making alive. Certain movement was designed with the audience in the mind where they can feel emotions investigated into the Clora choice even it is their more technical making their decision themselves. For example, the time loop sequence was shot in the way that given the audience a sense of deja vu, enhance the feeling of being trapped in the cycle of the Clora. In some sense, the actor was directed to the react different each time that filmed a loop, capturing the scenes of the uncertainty and making each vision of this loop unique. The psychological approach working with expert. Since the movie focused heavily on the Psychological horror, the filmmaker consults psychologists and the neurotist to ensure that the capture to the real psychological effort or grief or survivor guilt. The mental state of the protagonist Clara with a key focus with the crew working closely with experts to poverty her struggles with emotions trauma residently. The narrative of the Until Dawn 2025 explore her guilt, her grief, and other elements that feel authentic and the not over the dramatized. In several scenes, Clara actions like the isolated himself, withdrawing from this friend and becoming increasing paradigmic are direct influence but these consultations. They drove deep into her guilt over the Melina disappear after the psychological and making it appear to the unreliable of both audience and character around themselves. The cast extensive preparations for physical and emotional toll. The cast of Until Dawn 2025 had to go through the extensive preparation of their role, particularly due to the physical demand of the time loop sequence and the emotional intense scenes that they had filmed. The character who played Clara, Max, Abel, and Nina are the other participated into their intensive emotions workspace to dive deep into their character trauma. The crew had a special focus on the Clara grief, ensured that her emotional arc came across convincingly. Some actors even spend time with real-time trauma survival to understand the mechanism of how people react with such intense loss. On the physical side, the actors also trained from the glowing outside conditions. Many of the time loop sequence required them to perform stunt in snowy ice environment and their understood. Masked Killer, a new approach to horror vanity. The killer in this movie has had to be chilling presence, but the rather they rely on the traditional masked murder trope from this game. The filmmaker decided to take a more layered approach to the killer identity in an effort to create the psychological uneased. The venom is Until Dawn 2025 does not stay consistently. Some loop feature are masked killers, while other bring in the idea of the characters' fear of the each darker reflection of themselves. The mask worn by the killer was designed by the special effect team, incorporated both traditional and digital efforts. The idea was to make the mask unseating not just by his shape but by the stubble movement, and mask can be made like twitching eyes and stiffing mouthpieces and that enhance the creepy environment. The movie vision of this killer also had more advanced movement choreography. Some of them inspired by the real life psychological experience to make the killer action as disturbing as possible. So guys, now we are moving to the special effects that are used in this movie for engagement the whole audience. While most horror movies rely on the practical efforts, Until Dawn 2025 use cutting edge CGI to create the supernatural element like the stiffing visitor center, error forest. From the visual effect team use the motion capture to map the character's movement while interacting with the CGI element give to the hyper realistic feel. One of the most impressive aspects of this film visual effects was the way that dissipated the shifting time loops. The loops themselves are not just resets but the visitory and atmospherically different, allowing to the complex entrapped between CGI and the particle efforts. The filmmaker creates the figure realistic whose environment around the characters feel like there is wrapping beds or its mental stage. The forest with act as a sensitive force of terror. It's one of the most technologically advanced features of this film. Through the using of CGI, the forests are able to appear the breath with trees and bunches shifting and growing. It's as a unnatural way to create the concert feeling to the tensions. So guys, now we go move to the sound designing. This movie actually, guys, the movies that are horror movies and the fair movies are mainly based on the sound designer. No, so sound designer is most of the important impact on this whole movie. That's why in this movie, the sound designer of Until Dawn 2025 is an integral part of this whole horror experience. The sound team used to the contribution to the ambient sound from the wind howling through the trees of the cracking of the old visitor center. They keep the audience on edge. The sound of this time loop was crafted when each resets had differently authority guides signature signally to the audience from that sometime was wrong even brought to the characters new. In particularly the killer's movement are hidden through sound, each step every whispers or every unsettling noise was manipulated to create an impressive experience. The word lays the audience tremble. Final scene. Game changing end. The final scene of Until Dawn 2025 is one of the most challenging to film as it needed to encapsulate the entire movie emotional journey. The filmmaker wanted to create an end with that ambitious living with the listener question. They spent weeks deeper to the final shoot of the Clora confirmation with the grave ensured that every symbol from the lightning to the fog surrounding the visitor center was strategically placed to the delivered as a last emotional punch. The emotional weight was also sometime to director and writer discuss extensively. They wanted to the probably chlora growth in the well that felt entire and it's not just about the surviving, it's about overcoming the grief and that mean ensure that the ending was not just a jump scare but a moment of transformation of chlora. Conclusion. Until Dawn 2025 is not just another horror movie, it's a product of careful planning, intricate design, and the emotional storytelling. The behind the scene effort to make this adaptation as gripping and chilling as possible and what make it stand firm. From the actor's psychological appearance to the advantage CGI that brought to the supernatural element of life, everything was crafted with the one goal in mind to make you feel trapped in some loop as Clora. Clora is a true antagonist theory. Every time the group dies, it does not just fade over a moment, it's Clora fantasy and psychologically magnified behind them, and moreover, the time loop is literally her mind punching itself until she forgives herself. Dr. Hills is a gatekeeper of the hollow ship theory. Dr. Alan Hill is not merely a guide or echo of Joseph's memories, but the supernatural guidance or a jailer of these crucial evidence. Her parents outside the loop role sometime before Clara first love and her creepy lines you just walk through the night, hints as control as over implications. Dr. Hales wanted them free. He headed into the loop immediately. Instead, her test through wariness. Each loop mirrors a stage of the grave theory. The five major loops correspond to their five stages of grief: denial, angry, bangering, and depressions and acceptations. Clara refused to believe the death and the real. Angry loop, group fighter among themselves. Nena lets out. So guys, now we are going to moving to the next part. His Melena voice is separate entirely. Theory: the whisper and the vision of the Melena are not her ghost, but the instant separate tied to the hollow ship using the Clara memories as bite. Evidence: Melena voice sometimes contradict her known personality warms ominously instead of confirming. Mac's text message is not real. Theory: Da you okay? We are still on for the trip. Text is not for Max. It's sent by the loop itself as a taunt. Evidence: no sim actively during the loops. Clara never actually sees Max's phone. The text arriving exactly as Adron's field script. Implications: the loop orchards even the happy moment to keep her trapped is hope. The visitor center is alive. Theory: the building itself is a sensitive being feeding or fear its shifting wall and the chloride as its limb. Rooms appear and disappear is impossible way. Doors leak back to where you started. Implication: destroying the center rather than surviving the night might be only the way to break the crucial permanently. The final dawns what awaits in the season 2 cinematics episode. Clara returns a new guidance. Season 2 open with Clara back his everyday life, but stable glitches is not loop is not fully broken. In the final sheet confident Dr. Hills again discovered not just a guide but the guidance of this fellowship. Their face of will force his choose between the saving new victims and truly discovering the crucial service. All season Crypt Crucial suggested Melena services hidden somewhere in the road. In the last episode, Clara will find the Melena, not a ghost, but also the time displaced, wondering where the age 5 year inside the loop. Their routine will treated open a deeper paradox, accusing Melena could collapse reality itself. The visitor center true form mid finale, the center were literally come alive. Its wall cracking open to reveal a plunging head of this light as a group trace to discover it. You will learn to building it's the psychological embodiment of this everyone collectively grief sheltering the core of this trigger a reality reset but the worst what cost. The sacrificial choice in the parliamentary minutes Clara must choose differently. Saw a new friend character introduced in season 2 and letting the loop presets. Self-sacrificing to survival, the crucial for us is predict she sacrificed her own escape, trapped herself in the flood or so life there echoes the game hero ending but with the tragic twist, a glamour of the hope, a new nightmare. As drawn back, we see the recused friend emerge from the center, but there is no sign of Clara. It's the final shot. A longer figure stand inside the abdomen, building stuttered heart. Uh, Whisper echoes until dawn 2025. Again, this setup season 3 recused the quest virtual. So guys, now we are going to complete this whole movie script, and guys, if you want to say anything, just comment right down below. This is the whole movie explanation, deep analysis of every aspect of this movie, behind the scene, cast, production, explain every character detailed, and the whole plot of this movie, and the conspiracy theories of this related to this movie, and every part of this movie. So guys, if you want to like this, just like and subscribe our channel, and guys, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.